It's Enrico Pallazzo!
Utah, give me 2.
Pallazzo!
Hey, pull out the podcast.
Utah.
Tuesdays. Michael
Give me 2.
Govier, Benjamin Jason, Robbie Baseball. It's not his real name, but it doesn't really matter, right? It's cool. It's maybe the coolest name I've ever known. Mike Virginia, also not Mike Virginia's real name, just in case you're wondering. Although it would be cool if it was named after a state. Oh, we're here to talk about prospects. The next
State
big
was named
three.
after him.
Oh, well, then he would have to be very old, depending, especially from the East Coast. But
Benjamin Button
we are
stuff.
live, and the live chat is open. Come on in, say hello. We're going to talk about the Phillies, the Pirates, and the Cardinals. Next big three. This is the second to last big three we've done, Robbie.
Yeah.
Last night, Robbie did shortstop for the dynasty rankings. How was that?
It's so fun playing with myself. I mean, recording with myself.
Hey-o.
It's not my OnlyFans page, but
Oh.
yeah, it was good.
This has subscribers.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
that's
I've
pretty
got
good.
2 left, I think, which I'm gonna get done tomorrow. I've got to take my one-eyed cat to her surgery in the morning, where she will
Hey,
officially.
on it, one-eyed cat.
Yeah, she'll officially have that other underdeveloped eye cleaned out, and while she's having that done, I'll record relief pitchers, which you're gonna want to know. That's a fun one. I tiered it based on your save only leagues and your save hold leagues, and who could be next.
We actually had a question in the Discord today. Discord's free. The link is in our description of every video we do on this channel and in every podcast episode we do on our feed. Was asking about relievers to pick up who were hold candidates, not saves guys. So
Yeah,
tune into that episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And very interestingly, guys, I had my home league draft last Saturday that just passed in this
draft
evergreen
weekend.
show. And I had to drive to London, and we went to this fun place that's like a kids gaming zone and whatever. They've got conference rooms and mini pud and all these things inside, golf simulator. And I got up to the floor where we drafted the year before, and we could see a couple parties going on in one of the rooms. I looked in the room we were supposed to be in, like, guys aren't there. Meanwhile, I brought my wife and kids so they could go hang out and do virtual reality and all these other things. And then I called the one guy, Ty, who's been on this podcast, and I said, hey, or I texted him, sorry. Hey, I'm at the room. Where is everybody? And then he sent me a screenshot of the draft that showed me it's next Saturday. So I drove to London, which is more than an hour from my house, a week early for my home league draft, because I'm so jazzed to do it. So we ended up just paying $25 to play all the arcade games we wanted to for a couple hours, had some crappy pizza, and then drove home. So then I had to rework my whole rest of like this current week. And I'm working 5 a.m. Saturday morning so I can get out to get to London on time to be at that draft this coming Saturday. And damn, does that suck. But I got to be there, got to be there.
Yeah. Sound Money wants to know, who has the better setup name, Tyler Holton or Colin Holderman?
Oh, Holderman.
And none of them are comparable to Jonathan Holder.
Ooh, who's that?
He was a reliever circa like mid 2010s. He was a Yankee.
Jonathan Holder.
I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Not because
he was actually really good in college, and then was just kind of okay as a pro. But
oh, this guy knows. I think this is Bob Dole, by the way. Bob knows. Bob knows everything, just like Ben does. They have references on everything baseball related. And I thought I knew baseball, but then I met these guys.
There is a guy who because I looked this up for one time when I was curious for something for Immaculate Grid. There's a guy who's like the name he went by was Fireman Anderson. And,
Sweet.
And that was in like he came into baseball in the World War II era and played for about 5 years. So
that's awesome. Did you know Fireman Ed from New York?
I know of, yeah.
I wonder if they knew each other. Well, different eras? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, probably. Just a little bit.
You kind of look like a Jets fan tonight. You got a lot of green on.
I got all kinds of green, but see, if you notice, it's a clover.
Yeah. That's right. Leanne came by today. We went for a walk. We don't see each other. We don't live together right now. We're not separated or anything. We're just trying to protect our health. And so we go for a walk. And she was wearing this green hat that said, "Kiss Me, I'm Irish." But it was much more alive than Ben's had. It was like bright and shiny. And it says, you walk around the hospital and you're wearing that hat and you're telling everybody to, you realize it says "Kiss Me"? She's like, "I didn't even know it said 'Kiss Me.'" I'm like, yeah. You're setting yourself up.
So
I'll
I'm
wear
in all
my
green.
festive green hat.
I've got long green baseball clover socks. I've got green pants on. I've got. We'll just
Green
leave
panties?
it from right there. No,
I don't have
You,
green
what you
panties
really
on,
want
but-
is Ben's.
I don't have.
OnlyFans.
I was saying I don't have an OnlyFans, so maybe this is my day to start one. Huh?
Oh, Bob says it is me. I don't know everything, but I do know failed Yankees relievers from Jonathan Albaladejo. Am I getting that right?
I'm not going to try it. That sounds right.
Yeah, sure.
Albaladejo. I think I got it right the first time. It reminds me there was a fullback in the NFL. He had like a name like that. You know what I'm talking about, Ben?
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Albaladejo or something like
It's
that.
like, yeah.
Anyways, why don't we focus in on the prospects that we're doing here? Don't forget that.
You can tell we're not a big fan of these three teams.
Yeah. After last week's,
last week we had a good
probably
one.
could have gone 2 hours and still had guys to
almost
talk
did.
about.
Wow.
I think we'll be really happy to get more than an hour on these three tonight because there's going to be a lot of catcher talk on one of these teams. I'm just going to throw that out right now. Yep.
Well, we're going to have I'm going to do this. I don't know if we'll beat this goal. And this is a new thing here. So we have super chats now. So if you guys like our show on YouTube and want to support our show, we could set a goal and you can give $1 or $2 to donate to the show, to donate to Ben and Robbie, because these guys are amazing and they put in so much work with their prospects and they go deep. Yes, it's the next big three, but they go deep beyond that every show, in case you watch. So we're trying that out now. So if you want to donate to the show on the YouTube stream, super chat, it's like $2 is the minimum. So if you want to throw us $2, that'd be great. $100 is nice too. I'm just saying, but we're not asking for that. So. It does go that high.
Where's Govier's OnlyFans? I mean, geez, we're just.
Shit, man. I'm this close. I'm this close to going that route. But so we're trying that out now, and we've made $2.10 in advertising so far. So we want to thank everybody for that. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We're
All right,
one step closer to turkey, baby.
Woohoo! Yippee! Already. 2 L's, 2
Utah.
G's. Make sure you follow us
Give
everywhere.
me 2.
And with that, let's kick it off with the first team of the night. I believe it is the Phillies, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
All right. Who wants to go first tonight?
Well, I usually do. So I'm going to turn it over to Robbie to go first for our big three tonight.
Okay. I like to switch it up. That's fun.
All
At
right,
7:40.
You know exactly what I'm doing. You know exactly. I'm giving them time codes, baby.
That's right. I love it. Your dedication it's commendable. So
Adarsh.
Yeah, there it is. We got to have today's
Happy
commercial
to see
too.
you, DJ Adarsh. Okay, so if we're going to talk Phillies, let's talk about things that haven't come together yet and crack one for it here. Last year,
All right.
my big three, Justin Crawford, who I thought was going to move faster. We'll talk about him later. Mick Abel, who I thought was going to get coached up, and Griff McGarry, who, oh man. So this year I've taken a slightly different approach. I went back to a guy that I had as my next three based on injury last year, and Andrew Painter. He's now up in the big three. We know he spent some time in the AFL last year. We're expecting greatness from him. Why? Because he is the lone pitcher of high tout at the moment. He'll be 21 this year, or is 21 this year, and I'm expecting potentially AA for maybe a month, and then AAA if they don't just dump him in AAA to see what's up. Next up, I've got Aiden Miller, shortstop, 20. He was the 23rd, 2023 first rounder, and he's a potential all categories guy. Of their prospects, I think I actually like him the most as far as what we could see here. And he could potentially be in AAA by the end of this season. I hope they don't rush him along, and 2026 is a logical time that we could see him back. And then finally, I am circling the wagons for some coach him up Mick Abel talk. I know it wasn't good in AAA. I just can't give up, and I understand this is a character flaw. Oh, look, we're at different levels, Ben. Here, I'll go there. We'll be at the same level, or I'll sit back in my chair. But for Abel, it's a matter of like, I see things that are good, but I just haven't seen it come together. And I understand everybody has already walked away on the prospect landscape. I'm over invested, which happens for us in the dynasty world, where you probably could not get him off of my team for his current value. I'm holding out for the first 2-start week when he comes up, and that might be the time in which I either cross my fingers it comes together or trade him for the next great thing. But Painter's the one who everybody loved 3 years ago. 2 years ago, he got hurt. Last year, he was hurt. Now he's, back for us this year. I think he's the one everyone's going to be excited for in Philly. But Aiden Miller, to me, is really something special.
Yeah.
And I don't know how quickly the Phillies are going to go, but I really do like him.
Yeah. So mine, I had Andrew Painter, Mick Abel, and Aiden Miller last year. That was so you actually just copy off mine from last year.
Oh, we should share spreadsheets.
Well, then we'd take away all the fun.
It would 100%. It would.
But this year, I went back to Andrew Painter, who, by the way, looks really good this spring. Really impressed with what I've seen out of him. Aiden Miller, I completely agree with you. I think the only thing we're waiting on with Aiden Miller is what position he's going to play. I think this is a guy that's going to give you. I mean, I think he's going to be a 2020 sort of guy. He's going to be solid average. If you're in OBP leagues, he actually is pretty solid in that as well. And then because he has it's 20 home runs, but it's projected over a full 162 game season. This is a guy who probably could give you 20 homers and 40 doubles. So that's a guy who's going to put himself in position to drive in a lot of runs, to score a lot of runs. And sometimes we forget about that in fantasy, that those are two categories we got to worry about. So this is a guy that could kind of fill it all up for you. My final one is back to Justin Crawford. I know that a lot of folks are a little wary of, you hear that name, and yes, he was Carl Crawford's son, and so he was going to be the big, next
he still is Carl Crawford's son.
This is true. But because he was Carl Crawford's son, he was going to be moving fast and be the stud and all this stuff right away. Guess what? He's a highly athletic, high tools player. Those type of guys frequently hit a bump somewhere along the way. And they got to just work that bump out, and then they'll move their way up. And he hit his bump. And by the end of the season, he had really worked through it quite well. It was going well for him. I like what he can do. I think that there's going to be a need for him almost immediately in Philadelphia, because that outfield they're apparently relying on Max Kepler, who's, I think if you wanted to rely on Max Kepler's back, you would be in really big trouble. He already has a back issue this spring. Has had back issues in Minnesota for years. The Phillies outfield is in tough shape. They are making comments about going after DHs and putting Kyle Schwarber out there. That tells you something about how badly they need an outfielder that can produce anything. So.
That's true. We're live on the Pallazzo Podcast, 2L2Z.
Utah, give me 2.
Are you eating a sub? Is this a sponsored segment? Please don't tell me Subway sponsored us. I'm leaving.
Look how I updated the overlay, so we have the teams here now. So that's good. That we're focusing on.
Oh, beautiful.
Also, did you notice, I'll step away again. Look how outdated these players are down here. Like Freddie Freeman on the Braves. Miguel Cabrera's on.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that a little while ago, because I was going through it, and I'm like, you don't want to put Bo and Vlad beside each other. You may as well move them now. Put Vlad in that Yankee uni.
Matt Olson on the A's.
Yeah, Olson.
Oh, my God, yeah. Carlos Correa on Houston. Look at that.
Trey Turner, I believe you have in Dodger Blue.
Yeah, I did this 3 years ago. It
it's
needs
beautiful.
to be updated.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah,
is that Tim Anderson?
That is Tim Anderson. You're right. That's how dated. You're right. That's how dated it is.
And
that is actually the biggest
guys, there's no need to talk negatively of the Angels.
Oh yeah, who you
starting
signed
second
in our
baseman.
League?
I signed him in several leagues, several dynasty leagues.
He's very excited about Tim Anderson, Ben, and I don't know why.
2-year deals.
If he does play
2 years. I gave him two 2-year deals. Or sorry, 2 leagues, 2 2-year deals.
2 years.
Robbie and Tim Anderson's mom. I mean, they're buddies right now. So,
all right. So now we're doing the next big 3, right? We just laid out the top 3 here on the show. As Out of Rhythm Fantasy says, you need a total overhaul. Well, okay. Jamie's a graphics nerd, and he's good at graphics. Check out Out of Rhythm Fantasy; they're good at graphics. So.
Well, I was just going to say total overhaul. Are we talking about the Padre system? Okay.
Hey, is that next week?
That's tonight.
No,
who's our 13th?
Not the Padres.
St. Louis. Oh, damn it! My screen's screwed up. Even my graphics says San Diego High School. Oh, I've ruined it all.
Oh man, you got some.
Okay, I'm gonna fix this on the fly.
Away. Back to my sub sandwich.
My next big three from last year, I did mention Painter already. I had Wen Hupan, starting pitcher, who was a 2023 J15 signing, and I shouldn't even have put him on the list. Nikeu Puaka Grego, got the Grego part right. Anyway, he did not have a good year last year. I even dropped him in a dynasty league. Just thinking he's playing this year at 20. If he recoups some dynasty value and I lose him in the one league, I did drop him. That's okay. He was kind of a flyer last year. I can't remember what site it was that was saying that there was potential. I think he missed all the previous year, if I'm not mistaken, Ben. He was injured and didn't play. I could be confusing with somebody else.
He played very little, but he was Australian, and he went down to Australia and played very well down there in that winter league down there. And so there are a lot of people really hyping him up big because the Phillies do send quite a few guys down to Australia each year, which is kind of interesting. That's always been something they do, but he really was. He was a guy I was kind of interested in myself, and he just kind of hit the. Kind of one of those guys that ran into a wall. Yeah,
and if he comes back, great. But he's not on for the next three this year. This year, I do have there we go. There's some pan love right there. As we put up, he looks fine, but just I don't know. I'm not out on him. I still have him in one league, but Wei-Hu Pan is out. And for this year, I've got Justin Crawford, and Ben, you talked about it before, and he did go from my big to my next because I agree, he's not flying up the charts. You know, he doesn't have, as I put in my very labor-intensive scouting report, he doesn't have MLB man strength, but he's got double speed and excellent defense. So we can slow play that up, and it could very well mean he comes up in 2026 later in the year, and he could be a bench type guy, or it could be a break-in at some point earlier in the 2027 season because they just don't need to rush him. And as you had kind of said, you know, you got Kepler out there. There could be a need, but I don't know that you want, unless they put him at AAA to start this year, I don't know that you want to push him up if you don't think he's ready to succeed. And Phillies have had a recent history of having the quad A type guys, and they've acquired them, and they've also just had them kicking around the system. It would be good if they were able to develop one of these next two. So Crawford is one. Yep. Dante Nori is my other. Not a power hitter also, but a solid hitter, you know, gaps guy, whatever you want to put the tag on. He'll have a decent OBP, but he's not going to be a 25 home run guy.
From Michigan, Northville. I student taught there in 2010. Always got to say that every time Dante Nori comes up.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And that is our Subway moment brought to you by Mike Govier. But yeah, so he's got enough speed to play. He can play defense fine. High A last year. We'll see what they do with the assignment this year. He's a year younger than Crawford. So I'm not putting down. I did put down the beer. I started waving my hand around. Put the beer back in my hand if I want to. But my big guy here of the next guys that I am truly excited about that wasn't previously mentioned is left-handed pitcher Mavis Graves. He was a 6th rounder in 2022, so you could call him dynasty found money. 3.65 ERA in 16 starts last year, 117 Ks to 36 walks in 84 innings. So that's a 12.5 K per 9. Looks like he dates the head cheerleader is my other note here on him. He is a good-looking cut fellow. And what do you want to call it? Like the body, not in a non-sexual way. He's
6'6", and I think he's like 240 or 230. I mean, it's like a built boy.
Yeah, look at that.
And now the one thing I will say, he's 93.
Yeah, tugboat ish.
Pitches backwards, and but you can make a living off of that if you can control it. And you know, we'll see. He's actually going to hit AA more than likely this year, which can be that'll be a really good test for him. So,
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen so far, and
Mhm.
I know we talked very little when we got to Tugboat, which is what's his first name, Matt Wilkerson
Mount
Wilkinson
Wilkinson, yeah.
with the Guardians. So I thought, before we kind of passed on him this time, I'm going to go on this type of guy. I like it. I don't know that he's going to become one of the 97 guys, but perhaps he can be successful. And I always go back to, Blue Jay. Oh, sorry, I got the Dodge hat on, but the Blue Jay Marco Estrada as the comparable. Oh, there's a good tugboat right there. Oh, I like that. I think on what's it called? Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if it was Tugboat or Earthquake. I think it was Earthquake. It was a very sad story that, very much like a lot of the Phillies outfielders. Very sad story with Earthquake. But anyway, so those are my next three.
So last year, I kind of shot the moon for upside, and I went with Justin Crawford as one of my next three. And I had William Bergola, who they ended up trading to the White Sox. I think we've talked about him already. And then I went with Tayshaun Walton, and he was a fourth round pick in 23 out of IMG Academy in Florida. And the kid's 6'1", 225, built like he should be playing middle linebacker. I mean, it's just, I went, ooh, that for a kid coming out of high school, that could be fun. And it was not fun. It was not fun at all. Batted 196 on the year, struck out 51 times in 159 plate appearances. Wow. Athletic as all get out, but you do have to make contact with the baseball in order to succeed in baseball. Who knew? So this year, I still haven't learned my lesson, so I went with all upside again. I went with Eduardo Tate because we need to talk about a catcher.
Is this the catcher organization?
But no.
Oh,
They've only got him. He's the only catcher. Griffin Burkhalter, their draft pick this year, and then I have Dante Nori, who you've talked about already. Tate is one of those guys that kind of jumped on the scene because he was hitting so well, but there were a lot of people before last year who really were talking him up because of his defense. And Real Muto is not going to play forever. I know that, in fact, I'd be hard-pressed to find a whole lot of single-catcher fantasy league teams where he is a starting catcher less than 15-team leagues at this point.
Oh, okay. Oh, that'll be an interesting thing for me this week. I'm in a 14-team league. That's my home league. I'll see where he gets drafted.
Because we'll have an update. That's kind of right around that range. I bet. Yeah. I mean, 14 to 17 is about where I've got him in my rankings. And it's not that he's doing anything wrong. He's just, old man skills behind the plate. When you're focusing on the behind the plate part, sometimes the hitting skills don't get to translate the way that you'd like it. But yeah, he has got a catcher butt. I mean, seriously, look at that. Look at that back end. That is the type of back end that should lean into a hit by pitch, Sean Murphy. That is exactly what a catcher should look like, in my opinion. I mean, that you like your catchers to have a little paunch around the tummy and a little backside. That's the way they should look. He is, but the fun part is he can really actually move very well behind the plate. And the guy he reminds me a ton of is a former Philly, Carlos Ruiz, behind the plate. Really just steady, not incredibly flashy. But anyway, that's enough catcher talk for Robbie. But Burkhalter,
I didn't even tell you to stop, so I appreciate it.
is first round guy and has that kind of pedigree. We'll see what he does as he moves up. He had a real nice debut, and then you talked about Nori some already, so we can move on to our extra guys.
Sure, I
got a list.
Okay, fire away.
So Gabriel Rincones, outfielder, 22, third rounder, lots of raw power, really athletic, and just couldn't stay on the field in 24. So this was kind of supposed to be his year to move up to upper levels and show that he was ready to take a starting spot in the outfield. It's kind of been delayed a year. Carson DiMartini is a starter that they are a shortstop and third baseman that they drafted out of Virginia Tech in the 4th round this last year. I really liked him pre-draft. I had him in some mock drafts. There were some people talking about him as a money-saving type of college guy they might take in like the competitive balance round. Kind of a tweener body in that he's really steady at short, has the arm to handle third or short, but just one of those guys that doesn't have the classic twitches that you kind of would expect to see at shortstop. He's just, kind of that Cal Ripken at shortstop sort of move. It just, he gets it done. It's just probably not the most sexy to watch. But really good power to all fields. I like him to potentially be a guy for them. Otto Kemp is kind of established himself as a good utility guy. And he went up 4 levels last year, had some power, had some speed. He can play pretty much anything but shortstop and catcher. And then he showed out really well at the AFL too. Last I knew, I looked, I think just yesterday, and he was still in the major league camp competing for their bench job. And I think he could be a guy that might see some extra at bats around.
Weston Wilson getting hurt was good for him.
Yeah. He's going to be a good. Thank you, Floating Head. He is going to be a guy that I think he's their on the cusp sort of guy. Then you have some interesting ones. 2 undrafted guys here. Trent Farquhar, which the first thing I think of is Shrek when I hear that name. But you're probably not going to find him on him or the next guy on lists. He's a Michigan State alum, undrafted in 23, and he went up 4 levels last year. He's really a good athlete. Went through and I did a little background research. He was actually recruited pretty heavily to play college football and chose Michigan State for baseball because he was going to have a chance to play football and then gave up on the football right away. He'll get the AA test for a full year this year. He jumped up all the way to AA last year, but could be a good flexible around the infield type of guy. And Keaton Anthony is an undrafted guy from Iowa. Went up 3 levels last year. Not an over-the-fence power guy at first base, but really good plate discipline and can just pound out a ton of doubles. But he is first base only, so that's kind of a negative. Let's see. Devin Salty Bond. That's kind of a fun name. 23 third-round pick from high school in Hawaii. And he actually was just this week was in the spring breakout games for the Phillies. And but high school kid from Hawaii, which means he's got plenty of development still to do. But man, is he athletic. He jumps when you're watching him on a game, he sticks out just for his raw athleticism. Then get to pitchers. They got a couple guys in trades, and one of them is getting a lot of hype this year. And I gotta say, Moises Chase is getting a lot of hype this year as a Phillies pitching prospect, and he really did well in AA. He got promoted for a couple of months after he was traded from Baltimore to Philly. And when his control is on, he looks like he is going to be a mid-rotation arm all day long. When that control falters a little bit, he throws a really straight 96-mile-an-hour fastball. And it can just get pounded. And it doesn't show up a ton in the numbers. But, man, you watch it in games, and he starts to allow a bunch of runs and then they pull him right away because they can see it ain't working. So he's getting a whole lot of hype. We'll see. It kind of feels a little bit like I was a big Mick Abel fan all the way back to high school in Oregon. And Chase feels a lot like Mick Abel at about the same point. Just where there's a lot of raw stuff. And is he going to be able to put it together on the mound? I I mean, like you, Robbie, I held on to. There's a lot of leagues where I dropped Mick this last year. I held on to him for a long, long time. Drafted him in the FYPD as he was drafted, and have held on to him ever since, thinking, "Oh, I got a good one. It's going to be a good one." And I think your next good moment with Mick Abel is going to be in a bullpen. That is my.
But that's Griff McGarry now.
I know.
You can't do both. No fair.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that might. And then that is also probably true of this other guy, Seth Johnson, who they got also in that same trade with Baltimore. And he's on his third org, has really good stuff, has had trouble staying healthy, and his control goes in and out really bad. And that's, Baltimore was looking to give anybody that could walk a chance in the majors last year in their starting rotation as they fought through injuries, and he didn't get one. That should tell you something. I think he's a bullpen guy, though. I think once he gets in the bullpen, he's a really good bullpen guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the classic tick up in the bullpen guy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm here. Hi.
Hi. I was like, we have a floating head again.
For those of you that are listening to this version, you have no idea how much stupider it is when you watch the video version with me popping in and out. But Ben, I just want to see if you had anything on Andrew Bechtold, because he also used to play in Minnesota. Is he just a pointless? I mean, he looks like a guy they want to be a reliever, and I'm clearly biased because I have him in our league that I'm in with Robbie. So. And he was a hitter, and now he's focusing on pitching. So,
you mean he's Joey Gallo?
Yeah, he's. I liked him. I will say I liked him a lot coming out of college.
Anthony goes,
and he kind of hit a spot with the Twins where he was either getting power or he was getting average. He wasn't ever getting both, and he it just ended up to where he ended up as a free agent, minor league free agent, had been in the system long enough. And there's legit power there, but I was going to say, I think he's a pitcher now.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about, because I think they
he had a big arm.
The highest end of his potential, that maybe he could be a part of their bullpen this year if he hones in on what he's doing. As a guy who's not special necessarily, but could debut, could get a taste, and if he shows something, that'd be fun. But
he always had a really good arm. I couldn't give you a good scouting report of him as a pitcher because I just haven't seen it yet. I know
it's too fresh. Yeah.
He had moved. He was moving his last year with the Twins and then hit minor league free agency. But yeah, it'd be interesting. It looks like
he's 28 years old, so he's not a baby either.
13.50 ERA this year in spring training.
Oh, that's fine. We know that.
3 walks to 2 strikeouts. That's probably
if you're making an impression, it doesn't help. You're right.
Yeah, the 3 walks is probably the thing that'll catch some attention and not be so good. I do have one more guy that I haven't mentioned yet, and that's because you mentioned Mavis Graves. Then my other one is Luke Russo, 16th round pick from Eastern Michigan.
Hey, go Eagles!
Excellent. His first full season was this last year, and he checked all the boxes. This is not a guy who has anything that really sticks out as far as his stuff is concerned, but he knows how to sequence well. Luke, Luke. Gosh, this OnlyFans talk has just got me.
Yeah, I know. There it is.
He's literally tongue-tied.
Come on, you should see what I can do with a cherry stem. All right, but
oh my goodness, and that's for the OnlyFans, Ben. Okay, that's how you open it up.
That's true.
Russo,
Luke Russo. Okay, thank you very much.
He's a
I
righty.
won 5 national titles with Eastern in college football 25 this past year. That's a video game. So I did.
Congratulations.
I took Eastern to the promised land 5 times, and it's not just you got to make the bowl game; you got to win the whole playoff. So it was very impressive.
No, he's kind of a back end
story, bro.
That's kind of like when that's kind of like when you sit down with somebody at the bar and tell them about your fantasy team.
It is. It's just like that.
Yeah,
exactly. Except I've been waiting for a college football game for 10 years, and it was very exciting this year. So it was special, and I was a happy boy. Anyways,
But Russo's kind of a guy that you'll need to watch just because he could fill out that rotation well. And the big reason I like him, he reminds me just a ton of what Chris Sanchez was at the same level. And Christopher Sanchez, when he came up, everyone was like, yeah, that's a back-end guy. That's a fifth starter, maybe a long man. And now they're talking, he's pumping 96 to 98 in spring and he's added another pitch. I was listening to to an ESPN podcast today, and they were talking about him as Tim Kirkjian, who's a Hall of Fame baseball writer.
Yes.
Called Christopher Sanchez as his NL Cy Young.
Oh, wow.
This is all the rage in fantasy this year, Ben. Everyone's talking
is it really?
in the fantasy realm. Yeah, he's got a lot of run.
He added a pitch and he's ticked up the velo, and it's really looking good this spring so far, which is one of those good ways to really pump you up a draft board in March.
Yep. Mike's right here, Mike Virginia, and he was talking about this on the show last week about how Christopher Sanchez is the Cy Young. It's over, and he was being facetious, but that's the talk.
So
one thing though, guys, if you change a pitch or add a pitch, that's a positive. But if your velo goes up and you do that, that's Tommy John. You can't incremental changes. You can't
little bits.
A hitter can overhaul, right? A failing prospect or topped out prospect, they can go work with a hitting expert and they can rework things. But pitchers got to take it slow because that's a lot of stress you're putting on your arm there. So. Yeah, fade. Absolutely. Just like after my turkey hair transplant, I'll be able to cut fades and fades and fades.
Palazzo hair transplants. That's our new thing.
So before we go too long on the Phillies, which happened 10 minutes ago.
I'm done with them. I'm completely done.
I don't think you mentioned Marcus Lee Sang, the outfielder. Did you?
Oh, no, I did not.
And for good reason. But this is just like a deep league, potentially he comes up fourth outfielder type guy. Nothing special. And you can go look at his baseball reference page and you'll see exactly what I'm looking at right now, which is no line where you're like, that's amazing. But he just goes 2 levels a year and has the last 3 years consistently, A to high A in 22, high A to double A in 23. Last year, double A up to triple A. So he could potentially do the same thing. And I'm assuming based on his 19 draft year, that this would be his final year before minor league free agency, and he would need to be put on the 40-man. So that could mean, depending on your league, he could be a guy that could come up, and if he's potentially on a heater or whatever, prior to last year, he's been decent for OBP, and we'll see what this year has in store for him. But just like a guy, nothing I'm seeing that says, worthy of the final spot on your team or anything like that. But if you've got the ability to put him on your watch list and pick him up in season, this could be the only time we mention him.
And he fits a profile. We're going to talk about someone who has this perfect profile with a later system, but kind of a really, really good fourth or fifth outfielder profile. That perfect bench outfielder can play all 3 positions really well in the outfield defensively, and
not a lot invested at the for the organization. So you give him a shot, and if he doesn't work out, he's Alex Call, and he's gone to whoever picks him up off waivers.
Exactly.
He's also from Laurel, Maryland. I used to get
I thought you were going to say Michigan. Thank God.
Oh, Maryland.
Which is Michigan? As Robbie leans in for his ASMR of the night.
Oh,
I thought you were going to say Michigan.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Luke Russo is from the town I went to high school in. So I was trying to. We had this Russo clan of people that were super athletes. Now I got to find out if he's related to them or not.
Waitress,
we're old enough.
Can I get another beer, please?
What? You don't care about Luke Russo?
You need a Guinness.
We got Ty Weatherly and Luke Russo, both from the exact same town, guys. Both those guys now. So now we have 2 guys that you've mentioned on the show, Ben, in the last couple of months that are from my exact location of growing up. It's very interesting. Baseball hotbed.
There you go.
Is that for the Phillies then? 2
I think
that's
please.
Let's please talk. I'm excited about this hotbed of baseball in Heartland, Michigan. It's an exciting time.
Talk about some thieves of the sea.
Yeah, let's talk about Ho, ho, yo, ho, a pirate's life for me. Ha ha! All right, Pirates. Pittsburgh Pirates. And
There's
they
your
are
commercial interlude for the day.
not led by the previous GM, who was more of a douche. Their front office seems to be a lot better these days, Robbie. Are you excited?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Yeah!
I don't. What's the change? What have the Pirates
Paul
done to?
Skeens, giving them a lot of credit.
Yes,
I don't know.
that's players. That's not
Pure luck.
but that's not Charrington.
No, it's not.
Well, Charrington is still in the seat, but
Yeah. So
when he got that spot,
in
Nutting
20,
for what it's worth, Nutting
right?
has slowly been convinced by Charrington to actually invest money in the minor leagues. Charrington was a scout coming
Neil
up,
Huntington didn't do that.
and no, and so no, he's done a nice job in investing into the team systems. I really especially like what they have as far as evaluations for like body control and body monitoring, which I think is helping a lot with their pitchers. If you watch a Pittsburgh system for a week, the way the minor leagues go, you get 6 games in a week. So you watch a whole week's worth of games and see pretty much every pitcher they have. You're going to see almost every style of pitching. You're going to see someone throw sidearm as a starter. You're going to see someone throw way over the top. You're going to see someone all sorts of different angles, different arm,
and golf tribute.
They work well at bolstering up a guy at what he is used to and what he does well. So that's a rare thing in the majors or minors right now, unfortunately.
So I'll play the advocate of the devil on this one and say I remember when Tampa Bay debuted that strategy 6 years ago, and they started to do the thing with the clock where every arm angles for all the different pitchers, and then now it's a copycat world, and that's what they're doing. And I personally, as a former Blue Jay fan who's now just out in the oasis of Major League Baseball, I don't like Ben Charrington and what he's done since
he's like that, man.
Yeah, he's had many years to make changes, and they haven't been positive. And that's going to lead into both me time stamping and us moving on here at 42 minutes and 35 seconds for my big 3 from last year with Pittsburgh, which was Skeens, Jared Jones, and Estuar Ciro. Which was another one of those guys who I thought could really pop up because he was being positively written about and things seemed like they were going to click. And I mean, really, he should have been on my next 3, but that's okay. This year, I've got newly acquired or, whatever, in the last calendar year acquired Nick York. He's the only guy with the Red Sox who they were like, yeah, him we can deal, but we need the other 6 guys that can play in that middle infield.
Hey, they moved him for Garrett Crochet. They moved
not for Crochet. Nick York? No.
I'm saying that they moved some of those other studs for Nick.
Oh,
for
sorry,
Garrett Crochet this offseason.
Yes,
but yes, they were
Teal.
Yeah, they were.
The jumping in and out is too much.
The clutching, but they were clutching hard on their prospects. You're right.
Yeah. And when I got into but Ben, even in the dynasty talking shortstop, like the Red Sox came up more than I wanted them to, just because of the depth that they've got in that area. And now with these recent injuries, all Govier's dreams are coming through, and David Hamilton's got a job where he should get near, if not every day at bats in April.
Looking worse and worse every day. Every day.
But it's going to come around, and as soon as he gets his first hit, you repost and say, "Eat it, everyone!" And then when he's 1 for 10, you just don't reply. So anyway, I've got Nick York on. Only issue with him is Nick Gonzalez is, former rookie who I didn't even have on the list last year. I'm curious if you did. He technically was a fantasy rookie anyway, under 130 MLB bats last year. But Nick York is blocked, of course. Bubba Chandler, I really like Bubba Chandler coming up. He's one of the other ones for me. And then Thomas Harrington. So a couple of the arms we talked, I think, a little bit, Ben, in the early offseason about Pittsburgh and how they've got those arms. So for me, they graduated Skeens and Jones. Chandler and Harrington are the next two up for me. And then Nick York needs a position, and I hope it doesn't come via injury, especially to Gonzalez, who should be a steady Eddie, somewhat disappointing fantasy guy, but maybe in your certain leagues, Roto's points, he could help you enough. Deeper leagues as well, not anything, 15 and under, but anything larger. These might be rosterable guys. But Nick York does have solid upside, but he did go from the Boston jam up to now a Pirates jam up. So maybe he becomes utility-ish type guy if the Pirates like him enough. Either way, these are three guys who I think are solid, and good on Pittsburgh for having, 6 relatively big three guys in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Well, and York he's a guy who's right now getting some run in the outfield to make him more usable.
Like Tim Anderson.
Oh my word.
With the Angels.
On that note,
the Los Angeles Angels.
The Angels de Los Angeles. All right. So last year I had this Skenis guy, and then Bubba, and then I also had Anthony Solomedo, who went up to AA and fell flat on his face. But still plenty to like long term there, because he's only 21, 22. Still a young guy, lefty, really like the arm sling. People compare him a lot to Madison Bumgarner. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but
come on, it's a good thing. It just didn't end well.
It did not. I mean, the numbers are just absolutely brutal last year, but when he is locating, that is a devastating angle to try and pick up a pitch on. So this year, I have Bubba back on there. I have Thomas Harrington, and then I went with another pitcher again because, you really can't go terribly wrong with picking a Pittsburgh pitcher. And I went with Braxton Ashcraft, who is probably
shocked he's not on Robbie's top 3.
They
Fits the profile, doesn't he? Or
all
missing
be
something?
One of the things I'm happiest with is that you didn't mention the guy that I thought you would for sure, Ben. So I'm gonna have to rewrite my pending burn that I put on the report for you. So maybe I'll just leave it and I'll just read it as is, and then you can know that it was somewhat intended at you, but also the entire fantasy analyst in. I'll read it when we get there. But anyway, sorry, Ashcraft. Okay. Yeah, I thought about it. Does that count? I thought about it. I just thought the upside of Harrington was a little more. Again, like Nick York, he's on the cusp. He's there, and I'd like him to be able to be a guy because he's still really young, 22 and debuted already. And then Chandler's kind of, is he next guy up? Would we agree on that one?
Yeah, I think.
I
think he's the next stud up.
Okay, so he might not be their 6th pitcher this year on the depth chart. He could be 7, 8.
Yeah, but if they have a definite opening that they know is going to stick long term, and he's kind of pushing in AAA, if he comes up, he's coming up for a full-time rotation spot. Whereas someone like Harrington or Ashcraft might come up and they'll be filling in for a week or for a 2-week IL stint or things like that. I don't think you're going to see Bubba come up to do that kind of work. If he's coming up, he's coming up to stay.
Like Harrington, I like the walk rate. Yeah. I'm just trying to find why because I did this a little while ago, why I left Ashcraft off it.
No, I get it. I think I really, if you were looking at them coming off the bus, you would take Braxton Ashcraft every day of the week.
Is he?
He has Michigan? That look. He's a 6'5". He's 200. He looks like he should be the quarterback.
He's Texas.
He looks like a Texas pitcher. I mean, kind of that swag and the, he's got a little bit of a mullet going on. I mean, the whole 9 yards. He's not a bad looking guy. Probably, you made the comment about the good looking girlfriend. But
I found a prospect
Harrington's
from Michigan with Pittsburgh.
Oh, all right. Thanks, Robbie.
But Harrington is a guy who, let's just be frank, this last year he decided that it would be a good idea to sport a porn stash.
Just like Skeens? What the hell?
But look, so look at him. He's, if you're on the YouTubes, look at that polish. I mean, obviously his jersey is affecting the Popeye right arm that he's got up in the shoulder. But yeah, he means business. He looks like he's too young to have the mustache. So I agree with you there. But I think that's just like a thing with the kids these days, where the mustache is back, baby.
So I think if we click if we get into the chat, Uncle Ted mentioned that Harrington is Kirby 2.0, and
love that.
The comparison that I'll throw on that is I've seen in a lot of the years of following Baseball America, I've seen maybe a half a dozen 70 or better control grades given to a prospect pitcher. And Kirby is one. Harrington has one this year.
Ooh!
So that's an interesting comparison
Beautiful.
right there. The Kirby
Ted.
versus, yeah, I like that.
Sometimes
That's
Ted gets a little crazy, but Ted
he's
nailing
an
it.
average to above average pitch all over the place. But when you can control him like that, everything can play up. Everything can be so much better. So yeah, he may never be an ace of a staff, but you have Skeens, you have Jones. You don't need that ace guy. You get a guy that can just fill the bucket up over and over and over again as a number 3. That's a perfect pitcher. So for that system. So
hey,
yeah,
everybody watching live, by the way, we got 300 people watching live right now. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
295 of you are not on YouTube, though. Can we get the 295 people to come over to YouTube and subscribe and just be on the YouTube stream? You can still watch the show. Doesn't matter where you are. Just YouTube helps us out. That's all I'm saying. That's a lot of people. Thank you so much.
that's more
That
than
way
the small
Govier
town
can wear
that I grew up
green.
in.
You know,
So,
if we can get those guys to come over and subscribe, we can get Govier a green piece of clothing. I doubt he wears any green, being from Michigan.
I have the green man suit like Charlie from It's Always Sunny. I do have that. So the closet.
Well,
They'll
I
gain
mean,
a
let's
few
get those
pounds.
subscribers and get that on you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey, if we get 5 super chats tonight, I'll wear it on the next show.
Okay. All right, Ben.
And
So-
he's gone. All right.
Yeah.
So
right
the
after
next
he
big
cut out,
three.
he started cursing. Why did I say that? But he'd be happy if we did. Anyway, okay. So that was the big 3 for us. Next 3 for me for next year. Let me timestamp myself at 52 minutes. Oh man, I can't believe we're talking this long about these guys. It's so underwhelming. Xander Muth is a guy that I liked last year. I've got him back on my list this year. He needs innings, 74 in 24. And here's my projection, guys: 115 in 25, which becomes 150 in 26, which could be at AA with maybe an end of season at AAA. And then in 2027, that could be the big year where you see him jump up and he becomes, a 4-headed monster. With hair, I mean, maybe it could be 5 with Harrington, Chandler, Skeens, Jones, and Muth. And then it's a hard SP5. You got what's Ashcraft there. You got guys. All of a sudden, Pittsburgh has a great problem. They're not signing a veteran 5th starter who also rocks, first weekend series. So he could be a guy I really like him. Tamar Johnson, I've got him on here because we know. Okay, actually, let me say my other guy first. Connor Griffin is the other guy.
Yeah.
Previous year, I had Tony Blanco Jr., I had Juk Suk Shim, projects further away. Blanco was a J2 guy. But this year, I've got Connor Griffin, Tamar Johnson, and Xander Muth. Now, Griffin, 18 years old, drafted this past draft in June. He's clearly liked by actual scouts because fantasy analysts are falling for him. However, a smart Canadian who knows Ben Cherington can't develop a high schooler, let alone make one a superstar, isn't going to put him at the top of lists. Let's let him sprout as a pro in 25 and then grow in 26. We aren't in a rush. So, Ben, I'm glad you didn't put him on. Hopefully you've got him on the next 3. But Tamar Johnson's the other guy. Average concerns have been the thing with him.
Which is
also
just weird based on his pre-draft.
Like he's not huge, right? Excellent body, 5'9", filled out. Like
this was who's the Luis Arias is probably not a bad comp, but not to that extreme. But that was kind of the projection you were getting with him, is that you were going to get a guy who didn't strike out a ton, made a ton of contact, had enough power that was going to be 15-20, and but it was going to be the fact that this guy was going to win batting title after batting title and all that sort of stuff. You remember back in the day when Howie Kendrick was a future batting title champion?
Oh my goodness.
That was his profile that they put out as a scout. And this is what happens, folks. People develop and your body changes some, and all of a sudden your swing changes some. And it took him a couple of years. Yeah, it took him a couple of years though to get kind of into that swing. And he seems to have really found the groove of it now.
Yeah, like I think it was he had double-digit home runs and stolen bases, and OBP is good. It's literally the average, which is again where I'm saying there's value to be collected with him. But we did mention Nick York earlier and the clog in the second base situation. So Johnson, of course, you could start to talk about your left field, right field. He doesn't have the body for first base, but I really love the idea. Govier, are you dropping in? You got the fists up.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. If you finished your three, take a commercial break real quick, and then we get to Ben's.
Absolutely. I just want to finish my Tamar Johnson on
that's why
the average concerns continue. I would like to see this because of the clog situation and his high potential. A trade this year to like a San Diego, Colorado, Washington, somewhere where he could potentially have a position and some hitting coaches that would be looking to develop him. Because he is that toolsy guy with the OBP. So we know it should be a thing, a look for this, like something a coach can help you with, because clearly he's got the natural skill set. It's just not coming together yet on the average side. So that's my next three.
All right, Pallazzo Podcast, who will
Utah.
choose these?
Give me two.
We're going to have more for you right after this commercial break.
So let me repeat your order here. That'll be 1 double cheeseburger, ching. Large fries, no large soda, ching. 2 kids meals and 2 medium sodas, ching. 1 chicken sandwich, large fries, and a vanilla milkshake. Bada bing. That'll be $62.75. We're a little shy.
Remember when you could feed your whole family fast food for less than $10? Well, at Rally's, you still can. Rally's has it right.
That's actually how much fast food costs
Seth
now.
Green. Yeah, Seth Green.
$62 is
I was just going to say
family.
Seth Green. What the heck is he doing in there?
Seth Green, Family Guy, Austin Powers, all kinds of
Wow. So,
all right.
On that note,
thank you so much, Rallies.
I don't know how I can follow that.
Good luck, Ben.
Come on, Ben.
Cha-ching. So last year I had Tamar Johnson, Jared Jones, and Matt Gorski.
Love Gorski.
We'll talk some more about Gorski here in a bit. This year I've got Connor Griffin. We've kind of mentioned him already. Also have Xander Muth, who we've talked about a little bit. But the one I want to mention here on my three here is Levi Sterling. And he was their pick, the competitive balance draft, I believe. Like 35th or something like that overall. He was their second pick of the draft is where they got him. And he was just one of those guys who was a really elite two-way player in high school, and pretty much everyone knew he was going as a pitcher in the draft. This guy gets grades of 60 and better on his command as a high school pitcher. That is unheard of. This is, when I started looking at this is basically your young Thomas Harrington profile, a high school Thomas Harrington profile, and just continue to develop all the things he has right now. It might even be a little better than Harrington by the end. So it's interesting to see some of that. I like him a lot. I see he's, depending on where you're drafting, I have watched him go in like the second round of an FYPD this year, which I think is absolutely nuts because it's a high school arm. But even better than that, it's a high school arm in the Pittsburgh system, and they have a ton of depth, so they have no need to rush him. He's going to take his ever-loving time, and when he's ready, he's going to keep moving. But just like him as a 6'4", 200-pound, really athletic kid, he's going to be fun to watch develop. So
who else?
So I got a list, but you talked about a couple of them right away because I always got a list. You talked about Tamar and Nick, Johnny Severino, shortstop, third baseman that they got with the Brewers. kind of got a long frame to him, but huge arm. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch him play some defense because when he whips the ball across the diamond, it makes a loud sound in the first baseman's mitt.
Okay.
Power speed combo, but really raw still. I'm going to probably be hitting the AA level this year, but they could use pretty much anyone on the left side of the infield that gives them any semblance of offense. So if he can do that, then he's going to find a way on the field. Billy Cook, very good chance that he's going to be playing this year.
Yes.
Got him in a trade with the Orioles. High floor, kind of a steady Eddie sort of guy. Not sure.
The talk with Cook really early when oh my goodness, why can I never remember this guy's name? The
Horowitz.
Thank you. Why can I not? I don't know.
When you stumbled over him before, so that's why. That was what you were talking about.
That's how. Yeah, you know me. Oh my God, you know me. When the Horowitz injury became like well known to everybody when spring training first started, he's not going to be ready. Everyone's like, Billy Cook. Billy Cook's gonna be fighting for that first base job because they cleared it out at first base kind of for Horowitz. So it doesn't look like that's happening. They're going to be going another way. I'm assuming they're going to be going another way. But yeah, Cook should be getting time this year.
It looks like he is still a potential.
Oh, is it? Okay. I can't check roster resource this time of the year. No, it's so I like nothing against them. They do a hell of a job at Fangraphs doing that. But if you're checking like for what you're thinking for opening day, they'll sometimes change based on spring training lineups. Like, they put in 5 starters, or someone's presumably a starter. So it gets tough.
Cook is one of those guys who's still in camp. So that's always a positive thing at this point. And getting reps at first and DH mostly right now. He's getting outfield work, but he's not getting lineup work at either of those positions. So I don't know what that means.
Right.
But he came up as an outfielder.
The last guy on the roster.
Yeah. Well, and that very well could be, but like he is kind of one of those, like I said, high floor guy that if you give him some time, he's probably going to put up something for you. Nick Samilo, 16th round pick out of Rutgers. He's a former catcher, so you love him. Transition to first base, huge power, solid plate discipline. Just, I don't know. I'm kind of waiting to see if he can hit enough to let the power play. He's kind of a 3 true outcomes sort of guy right now, except that he doesn't strike out all that much. So he's kind of a 2 true outcomes sort of guy, which it's okay if you're not striking out, but eventually you do need to get, you should have some ability to make consistent contact. Gorski is a guy I've loved for a long time. 2019 second round pick out of Indiana. Ton of power, ton of speed, lots of strikeouts. And he's kind of worked his way all the way up their system with that. He's been kind of sitting in AAA. We'll see if he ever gets that shot. Jack Brannigan kind of became a name a couple of years ago in college with Notre Dame. He ended up being picked by them in the 3rd round. And he plays all around the infield defensively, has above average power, but he also strikes out plenty. So we'll see what he does in AA this year. I was kind of surprised that last year, being a college guy in his 2nd full year, he didn't get to AA. And I don't know if that's a negative on him or if they were just full or what this is. I don't know what that issue is. I will be honest that I don't know Pittsburgh's system that well, but it seemed like he had the numbers that he could have pushed for that. Pitchers, Hunter Barco, lefty, was a huge hype guy at high school, went to Florida, injured pretty much his entire college career and underperformed. And so, but still was a 2nd rounder. And last year was his first full year after he had Tommy John and was good, nothing amazing, but again, another depth arm that he actually should move fairly quick for them once he gets the inning load. Last year was kind of the get your arm ready or used to the innings load again. He's kind of a good 3-4 type of lefty starter, and that guy could move pretty quick, or can be moved fairly easily. Either way, Connor, oh boy, Wheatgriff, 7th round pick in 24 from the University of Minnesota. Had a huge Cape Cod league last summer to push up his draft stock, and then he just kept pitching great once he made his pro debut. Really good frame, elite slider, fastball slider could make him a really fun pit or relief arm, but he's going to need to work on control. He's going to need to work on developing his secondaries in order to have a future as a starter, but just kind of a fun arm in a very similar spot to where George Clausen was coming out of Minnesota. So could be an development guy for him. Alessandro Ercolani had a very fun year. He was an IFA guy from San Marino. Do you know where San Marino is, Robbie?
No, I don't. It sounds like it should be in the Florida Keys.
It is landlocked just north of Italy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Italy locks it into Europe.
I was close. It's on water.
It is a country. No, it's not. It is a country.
Oh, landlocked. Oh, I'm so sorry. So I couldn't have been further off.
Pretty much. It is a country with 30,000 people. Just to give you an idea, there are more than 30,000 people in multiple cities in South Dakota, which does not have 1 million total people in the entire state. So that tells you how small this place is. But Alessandro, 6'2", has arms and legs like a guy who's probably 6'5". I mean, just all arms and legs in the delivery. So it comes from kind of a unique arm shape, which gives his fastball unique shape. He can run it to mid-90s. He has 2 sliders now. He used to have a really good sweeper slider and added a more of a sharp, firm slider. We'll see him in AA this year. But this could be a really fun guy. Just kind of, if he makes it, he is the first person ever born in San Marino to make it into the major leagues. So that's a little.
Can I transition into some of my Pirates quickly?
One more.
Okay.
Carlson Reed is my last one.
Okay.
4th round pick in 23 from West Virginia. The scouting report I got from this guy showed him on that day, showed him 4+ pitches and never once got above 40 control. So that's not a good combination.
Why did he show him the second pitch then if he was struggling with the first one? Or maybe he's like, no, wait, watch this one.
He showed him 4 pitches that were all considered plus, like 4 different pitches, but he just didn't have any friggin' clue where they were going. It worked for him last year. 130 strikeouts, 199 ERA, 108 innings.
23 starts with that, so that's good.
I mean, it worked, and he's got a good body to him. I mean, 6'4", I think it was like 210. I don't have it sitting right in front of me, but
got a good 6'4", 200 on baseball ref. Just quickly looked at it.
So, I mean, and you watch it. I watched the delivery. It doesn't look like it should be the type of delivery that throws his control all over the place. So I don't know. I don't know what's causing that, but the nice part is he's in a fairly good system to help him work through that.
Okay, well, I've got another first. This is the first player ever drafted from the state of Michigan, Mitch Jebb. It's not, but Govier's not here to tell me I'm wrong, and he'll never hear this, so it's totally fine, unless he's got those wireless headphones and he comes running back, but I hope he's not going to. Anyway, he was a 2nd rounder in 23, and he's been good, not great. High A last year was the first setback, but OBP is great, 341 in 431 at bats. So worthy of a mention. Again, like middle infielder, second base type. So we know there's a log jam there. Another guy to speak of in that log jam is I think it was last year he was acquired from the Yankees, Kiner Delgado. He is going to play this year at 20, turning 21 when later this calendar year. He turned 20, 71 days ago, apparently. But he's been fine. He just hasn't been as exciting as he was when he first debuted in 23 with the Yankees. Last year, his line was 234, 320 for the OBP, which is fine, but the OPS 676. Learning his craft, you might say, but 27 stolen bases, 9 home runs. If you want to take the highlights between rookie and A-ball, most of that at A-ball. So young for the age, but again, would have liked to have seen better results for that one. I've also, what do I got left here? 4 dudes. Tony Blanco Jr., who I did want to mention. So Tony Blanco Jr. is 6'7", 243 plus pounds of man, who is still 19, won't turn 20 until May, late May or very early June. Last year he was limited in at bats. Obviously there was an injury there, but he was fine in the line of 305, OBP 385, rookie ball. So now we need to see him in they might give him a week, in rookie ball again and then move him. So I could see him hitting 3 levels this year. For me in Dynasty, this is a make or break year as far as getting hyped up. Otherwise he's going to take the Mason Martin route, which is potential and tapped out, which we talked about him on last year's fallout list. Lonnie White, speaking of fallout, Ben, remember the hype around Lonnie White? He was like the steal of the draft. He was all these great things. The second round, the Pirates got a good one, got the high schooler. And no, last year.
That was why they drafted Henry Davis. Is that right? Isn't that the year they did Davis
I think
first overall? Yeah.
20,
for him and Salamedo.
21. That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. They got him and Salamedo out of it. And,
but 168 average last year, sub 300 OBP. And the OBP was the thing people liked about it. The contact people liked. And then his debut, not his debut season, but his last good season was 23. Again, limited at bats. His career total in 4 minor league seasons is 587 at bats. So he could get, 500 this year if the chips all fall the right way and almost double that line and turn it all around. But he went from kind of fantasy dynasty darling to forgotten guy. And as I had kind of mentioned before about being overinvested on a previous guy, that's where Lonnie White is now. So the last 2 guys, David Mamata. I just wanted to mention him.
Yeah.
Matoma. Matoma. I'm gonna pick my letters and put inflection where I think it is best. So David Matoma is a fire baller from Uganda, and Uganda want to see him on the highlights. Yes, but he generates it. They should call him the generator.
Absolutely.
Like 160 pounds soaking wet, but he hasn't had enough innings yet. But he has increased from his DSL sub a K per inning to well over a K per inning, 11.5 last year. But this does look like pure reliever. So he could be one of the guys who you start to hear is like kind of an interesting guy. Boston had drafted a guy. Oh man, it's been a long time now. It was probably 6 years ago, where he was supposed to become like an almost instant closer and it never came together. And I remember talking about Boston last year, not being able to remember his name, like Durbin Feltman. I think that's right. Like, why can I remember this? And I can't remember like important things like,
you remember the Joey Devine?
My family. Joey Devine?
He was a closer that the Braves drafted in the first round when they were in the midst of their run, and they really
so he was
were
like
struggling to find a back end guy. And so he ended up getting like pushed up that year. I think he was even in his draft year. I'm pulling this up here. Drafted in the 27th overall pick, 2005 draft, and he made 5 appearances that year in the 2005, and then got into the playoffs.
Wow.
And just in 2005, that's the only one. But gave up a monstrous freaking home run in a playoff series against Houston, and the stinking kid was never the same.
Oh, really?
And he ended up having one really outstanding year with Oakland, but then Tommy John bug hit, and he was never able to come back all the way. It was just, but yeah, one of those, you draft a guy and expect him to immediately become a guy. And no, he's only 40 now. Good Lord. But I suppose he was drafted in 2005.
Right. So he could, well, I wonder what he, anyway. Did you mention your Danny De Los Santos?
No, I did not. But
I thought I had seen that in the chat earlier,
Yep,
so I pulled
it
him
was
up.
mentioned. Yeah, same.
Okay, so he's a 20-year-old infielder, we'll call him. He could be moving around shortstop, ideally, of course. So DSL wasn't shiny from the batting average or power, but that's when you're like 16, 17. He did come over I was in 22. He was in the DSL 23 last year. Let's call that the arrival to the States year, learning his craft. And then last year came in, did a repeat of rookie ball, A ball, but the bulk of it, 2/3 of his appearances were in rookie ball, and he killed it. And then could not keep up with A ball. So I don't know if we're going to give A ball for the third year another try at 20, and you either make it and graduate from Bradenton, or you fall into organizational, not necessarily depth, but an organizational piece where you might need to come along slower. But doing the rookie A ball repeat and struggling both times at A ball is not ideal. But I did notice him in the chat. And if you join us on the chat, we're always happy to throw your guys out there if you'd like, if it's on topic. You don't be bringing up, I don't know, Braves like Ben just did. Keep it tight.
Mine was involved with the situation we
had. A 20-year ago drafted guy, and Ben's like, I think there's still hope. I'm pretty sure I heard him say that.
No, I did not. Anyway, I was going to say with this guy that Yordani de Los Santos, remember, he is only going to be 20 going into A ball.
It's just that it's the third year. That's my only.
I mean, technically, it's his fourth year as a pro, but it's his third year at A ball. Again, over and over again, you and I say this: development is not linear. Sometimes it happens, in fits and starts. A guy all of a sudden figures something out after being an A ball for 5 years. All of a sudden, something clicks, and then he's just up to the majors like that. So.
Yeah,
you don't know, but I don't know enough about Yordani to say that he will or won't. But so we can move on to the Cardinals.
Yeah, let's go to the and I'll be honest, this one, I don't know if it is for you. This has obviously got to be your catch organization because I haven't heard it yet. But they had a bunch of guys who graduated the system last year. Mason Wynn, Victor Scott, who, oh my God, the talk a year ago about Victor Scott. Oh, rough for everybody out there. Ivan Herrera finally graduated the list. Technically, Lucan Baker did. Yeah, Ty, we can circle back to your, import guy at the very end, I guess. Lucan Baker technically did, but for fantasy purposes, he is still considered a first, and he's just locked in as a Cardinal bench bat. And we're going to hope that he can, just be a power hitter and make it worthwhile for some of us in fantasy. And then they had Ryan Fernandez was the other guy I noted that was a graduate. But anyway, as far as their like not I was gonna say not a notable, but I didn't want to be insulting. Anyway, last year I had Tink Hence, I had Cooper Herjape. Jerpy. Okay, so just the H is silent. That
sounds like jerky, but with a P instead of a K.
Cooper Jerky, left-handed pitcher, first rounder in 22, and then Victor Scott, of course. That's what happens when you drink the Kool-Aid. But I didn't drink the Kool-Aid in the sense that I acquired him anywhere. He was very, very highly sought after in any dynasty league that I was in, where you can't make in-season pickups. You have to wait till the draft. He was a top 15 pick in all of my dynasty leagues. Very aggressive on him, and it unfortunately at the moment it hasn't worked out, but still young. So this year reset the deck. JJ Weatherholt, first round pick of last year, just looks like a solid pick. A potential pop-up prospect pitcher who made a big jump for dynasty, exactly like Victor Scott did in the outfield. Quinn Matthews, lefty, did that this year, where he wasn't highly, I forget what his ownership was when I tried to look back. It was under 15% on not on Yahoo, on Fantrax.
Your typical college lefty. And then all of a sudden he had it on. And this is a good example. You do things incrementally. He basically kept all of the stuff he had and just added velo to everything. So, and all of a sudden he went from, well, it might be nice if he someday makes a back end pitcher to now folks are talking about him as a 2-3. I don't know that I've quite bought into that, but he certainly has made himself an interesting mid-rotation option.
Well, and speaking of 2-3, Tink Hence returns to my list. Not the ace that he was once hoped to be, but I think it is reasonable to think more to the 3 side of the 2-3 type who could be up this year. He rebounded from that disastrous 23. 2024 was the, hey, don't forget about me. But again, it's what happens when everybody gets on board with a guy and they're not a superstar. Is everyone he really recoils from it. And this is a pretty good list of that. Everybody's really high on Weatherholt right now. Quinn Matthews is the new shiny toy that kind of, seemingly came out of nowhere. And Tink Hence is the guy who used to be in the position that Matthews is now in. And we'll see where it goes from there. So they're an interesting system, but because of a lot of the recent graduates, I didn't find St. Louis to be one where I was struggling. Like, I didn't have like a 4th and 5th guy that I was thinking, they could all be here. It was kind of clear cut for me. I mean, there's always an argument to be made for a guy that you just think can do it. So where are you, Ben?
So that's exactly what I was going to say. Because last year I had Wynn. And last year I thought that there were maybe 5, even you could argue 6 guys to consider. And I had Mason Wynn, I had Takeo Roby, and I had Thomas Sagasti. Is who I had for my big 3.
And they're still worthy of.
And they're still worthy guys.
Yeah.
But we have the exact same big 3 this year.
That might be the first time. Oh.
Yeah. To me, I don't know if you're doing this exercise, I don't know how that's not your big 3. Now, there are a lot of arguments you can make who's next, but
yes,
the big ones to me, I think, are pretty obvious in this system. So
yeah, when we get into the others, I think that's where we can kind of the not big 3, but were or could become maybe. Yeah. So, okay, well, yeah, we'll just jump straight into my next 3 here. Look at us go. Oh man, we're making up for time. Thank you, St. Louis. Poor development. No, not poor development. So I've got Takeo Roby in my next 3. Last year, I had Takeo Roby in my next 3. It's just health. And when you're a pitcher, to me, you need to put innings on your arm in order for me to assume you're ready for the next level or trouble. So Roby needs innings, and he's, to me, not there yet. So that's why he's on the next 3. I've got shortstop Yario Padilla. Or Padilla, I should pronounce it correctly. 17-year-old rookie. And Ben, I think you're going to like this one. He could be the next Jesus made jump type hype guy. And if you've never heard of him before, you heard him here first. There we go. I'll cement that one out. And then the last guy I've got a catcher. I hope you've got him too, so then we don't have to talk about him again. Leonardo Bernal, a 20-year-old catcher who was in AA last year. Oh, did we sync up on all 3?
Nope.
I thought we were menstruating together. Nope. Menstruating? There's a way to say this, so it's not weird. Okay. So anyway, he had a good season. He was in the AFL at a young age, like now Cardinals starting catcher Ivan Herrera was once upon a time. But I think this should be a slow play, not expect him up in 2026, because at that point he'll only be 22. So I think it's important for him to do like Herrera, which I understand was frustrating for everybody in Dynasty because we wanted, like Luis Campusano with San Diego. He seemed good early, and then it took forever for him to like fully come up. Not that Campusano has settled himself in or anything, but anyway, Leonardo Bernal, Yario Padilla, and Takeo Roby. Those are my next 3. Last year, I didn't mention, I did have Wanbin Cho, who was just, he was a 2022 J15 guy who I thought was really good. I tried to acquire him everywhere. I couldn't get him, and I just had him offered to me in a league. It was him and a droppable prospect for a next year 10th round pick in a rookie draft, and I didn't have a roster spot available to take him. But somebody in free agency had won Clayton Kershaw and needed to free up a spot on their roster for him. And I said, I'm like, where were you a year ago? I would have probably given you like a 4th round pick for this guy, but I can't even take him now. And he said, I know he's stuck. And I kind of agree with that take of, we got to see the advancement that we were told, because he was supposed to be a polished guy coming over, but he's become quite a project guy. And then the other guy had his Max Rajic, right-handed pitcher with St. Louis. He was a 2022 6th-round pick. It hasn't blossomed to the point that he's big three relevant, and I didn't want to repeat him on the next three. So, all right, Ben, who you got?
So last year I had Victor Scott, Tink Hence, and I had Joe. This year I'm going with Darlene Saladin.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Really, really, really like the control profile with him. He was an okay money guy in international free agency. Took a long time to get his pro debut because he was one of those unfortunate guys that signed July of 2019, and then the world shut down when he was supposed to come and make his pro debut. And so then he didn't end up getting to start his pro career until 21. So yeah, the kind of just, and then he spent 2 years there. So, slow developer, but I mean, just knows how to pitch. And I really like watching him pitch. He does a good job mixing and keeping batters uncomfortable at the plate. I have Padilla on there. I had a lot of folks that talked about Luis Pena and Padilla kind of in a very similar breath. Luis Pena of the Brewers that we talked about last week. Okay. And then I had on Chen Wei Lin. So since it was brought up, we can, bust in and talk about him a little bit. Love the frame, 6'7" frame.
Thin for 6'7" though. He's
very thin. Pounds. Yeah, absolutely. But he gets results. He pounds the zone with stuff. I don't know if it's really sexy stuff at all, though. That's what I'm worried about in watching it. It's a fastball changeup, and then what? And you got to have something else in order to kind of keep hitters off balance as you get up higher. Even if you're a fastball slider guy, if those two are dominant enough, you've got a moving pitch and you've got a fastball, you're going to have a chance to do something with it. A fastball changeup dominant guy, that's really, really, really hard to be an excellent starter with that. Now he controls it well. And Jesus, he pounds the zone. But I don't know. I'm very interested to see once he gets to Double-A how things are handled. I kind of we were sold that a bill of goods that he was very polished as well. It's kind of another one that we were sold that he was going to be advanced for his age and all that sort of stuff. And he's been okay. It's just, that's it. It's been okay. It's not been anything to go, oh, wow. Hey, that's kind of, that's really impressive. Yeah, he had a good year. So I hope he can find, the split finger from his arm angle could be really, really freaking good.
Which I think just his height is an advantage, like to throw. Yeah. And if the more over the top he could get, or, I mean, I know it's difficult. The more variation within his arm angle, I know that'll tip pitches when you get to the higher levels. But at the lower levels, as you're potentially honing in, if you're coming, 3/4 slot, it's something. If you're really over the top with your splitter, if you can try to work in a curve and it has the similar angle, it might narrow it down for the hitter. But if you've got an off speed that comes from the same arm angle as something that, fades out, you could really cause a very good K rate for yourself on that one, or a lot of guys just watching it. But who do you have, Ben? So that's your three there. Who do you got for extras here?
So extras, this is where the catchers all come in. And what I found funny when you made your catcher comment, that isn't even one of the ones I mentioned.
Oh my goodness, really?
I have 3 catchers mentioned, and none of them are, and that's not one of them. And there are probably 2 or 3 more I could have added. This is a very deep system in catchers. It's like they saw that Yachty was leaving, and they're like, Phyllis, give us all the catchers. We need to develop our next catcher. So to go down that list, Jimmy Crooks, he's one that I think you might see even this year. He got a little bit of top 100 love, which surprised me a little bit, but
Interesting.
this should be he's one of those that's a high level framer and gets a lot of pitches for his pitchers. Does all the right things behind the plate. Isn't elite in the running game, but handles his own there too. And
yeah, geez, he did really well, Ben, at AA. 321 average, 410 OBP.
Very good contact. Probably a 10 to 15 home run guy long term, but one of those guys that's 10-15, but if he's your starter and you give him, 10 years, he's going to pop a 20 or have a 20 home run year.
7, 8, 9 guy in your lineup somewhere early on that could move up into like
with
a
good averages like that could,
you'd bump him.
So he's the one who I think you're probably going to see first. Rainiel Rodriguez was their 24 Dominican IFA, and guess where they got their stud catcher for a long, long time? No, God. Britain, not from Venezuela.
Come on,
from the Dominican. No, I'm not.
But like, does he have Venezuelan parents?
I'm not putting that on this poor kid. But he did have a holy crap year in the Dominican this year, and then, quite frankly, his year with Jesus Mate, I mean, they're kind of right next to each other as far as how impressive they were. But he was doing it as a catcher, and that's pretty stinking impressive. So I'm looking to see how he does once he gets stateside. That's going to be an interesting. That's going to be interesting once he gets there. Ryan Campos was their 4th round pick in 24 out of Arizona State.
Yeah, and I assumed he's worthy.
He played a few positions, but he's moved exclusively to catcher now. I think he is going to be kind of your ideal backup catcher sort of guy. Just has that
Riley
build,
Adams,
like I don't want to put this completely on him, but like a Dave Ross sort of guy, or that sort of, hits enough to where he could give you something. I think unlike Ross, he's going to be more average and gap power, rather than Ross was more of a guy that could give you 10 to 15 home runs as your backup catcher in 200 plate appearances. So that was always pretty valuable. But no, I like him a lot. So then I had also on here, they have your ideal 4th outfielder profile in Nathan Church, 11th round pick out of Cal Irvine. Really steady defender all around the outfield. Had a really good AFL this last year. But, not a ton of power, but enough gap power to make it, keep a pitcher honest. And then definitely has plus speed. Like I said, kind of a perfect 4th outfielder profile as your fill-in guy on a major league team. Ian Petrutz is a guy that popped up to me. 24, 12th round pick out of Alabama. Line drive hitter, excellent plate judgment. The guy who he reminded me of a ton, and it just happened to be it's definitely clouded because I'm watching and thinking about the Cardinals, but was Alan Craig. Just a real consistent hitter, bat to ball type of guy. But man, did Alan Craig fall off a cliff. Just was a really, really good player, and then all of a sudden was just nothing. And Chase Davis finally figured out how to play baseball a little bit this year. We'll see if he can continue to turn really, really loud tools into usable baseball skills next year, as he is in AA for a whole year. He got up to AA this year. We'll have to see. Like I said, really fun guy to watch, but sometimes he looks like he's an athlete playing baseball, not a baseball player playing baseball.
He was the 23 first rounder for the Cardinals, who was exciting for draft season, and since then everyone's been just kind of waiting for it. What did he do last year? It was 3 levels. 3 levels, finished in AA.
It's solid
12
numbers.
home runs, 9 stolen bases, 250, 3 average, 350 OBP. Absolutely not floor or sorry, not like a ceiling type season where you're excited, like you're over the moon, but like that is a solid floor. He's just gotta, like you said, do it at double A.
Yeah, and do it for a full year at double A. Pitchers, I only got 2 to mention because you already mentioned the other ones here.
Okay.
Michael McGreevy is a guy that I've liked since they picked him 21 in the first round. Really like a mid-rotation starter kit. Really good body for it. Good pitch selection. Type of guy that's just kind of a perfect 3-4, eat up a crap ton of innings, repeats his delivery perfectly every time. And now with a couple of things happening, they made the announcement today they're considering going to a 6-man rotation specifically to get McGreevy a turn in the rotation each time. I like that a lot. I think that I put up my note on here I have on him, nothing flashy, just results. And that's it. I mean, it's a pitcher that you like to watch for a lot of reasons, but I mean, this is frankly, they let them both go this last offseason. So this is your like Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson starter kit. Guy just going to go out there and throw you 180 every year. And you're going to get decent strikeout numbers because of that in total strikeout leagues. Now, if you're in Caber 9, not so much, but he's going to give you that. The other one that I have on here, Nelfi Infante, and Infante is with a YNFANTE. And he's a righty, 2022 international free agent out of the Dominican. He spent 2 years in the DSL. And guys, this is something the Cardinals seem to do with their international pitchers. They spend a lot of them 2 years in the Dominican. And so don't freak out if you see a pitcher that has 2 years in the Dominican, because sometimes that's just what the organization does to make sure they get what they want them to get out of that experience.
I wonder in like a in like a not counting against your MLB total, if a DSL player does or does not count against that like organizational 200 and whatever the number
is. It does not.
Yeah. So not that's like the reason, but maybe if you don't have a spot for him stateside, it's a safer bet to keep him over there with the guys that would have scouted him. Yeah, scouted him to bring him to the organization in the first place before you move him over to Complex or whatever you do with him.
Well, now this is just sad to see. His not so silent majority. He apparently didn't get notified that we were chatting tonight. And
make sure you follow us on the Twitter X bot there, because I know those ones go out if YouTube is not doing it for you. And I have often heard YouTubers as well as some podcasters talk about how something gets turned off. We were talking about it with StreamYard here, how sometimes the settings just reset themselves. So you always have to check. Even fan tracks with emails, sometimes you have to take away your league emails, save that, and then go back in and reactivate. It's the weirdest thing, but sometimes that works. Anyway, Ben, I've got a bunch of guys.
I was just going to finish with Infante here quickly. He took a big step forward last year, not really changing his stuff anything, but he just sequenced it better. And so worked off with the fastball into the breaking pitches, and then he has a really good changeup, use that as his put away pitch. And that seemed to work a lot better for him. He's still really skinny. He could fill out. There's stuff here to dream on. But again, one of those guys still in the low levels. We'll see what he can do from there. So, but
okay. So first one I want to talk about is apparently lost on the starter realm is Gordon Gracefo, whatever it is. He was 5th round pick in 2021.
Is he graceful?
I had hopes of him in a rotation. That's all died, but it looks like he could be a bullpen arm now. Another guy that I'm interested in, Ian Petrus. That was the one you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Did you?
Petrus.
Yes. Okay. So I'll skip him because I thought it was funny. I had 3 guys from the 24 draft, and then he was the one you mentioned. Braden Davis is another one, a lefty pitcher, not too big or anything, 5'11", 6 feet, 180. But the college line was really good at Oklahoma where he had 117 Ks in 92 innings. Not a big fan of 41 walks, but let's see what happens. He did not debut last year, nor did. Is this the right guy? No, this is not the right guy. Let me get the right guy in sequence. Nor did third round pick Brian Holiday, which, you know, that's not the. Wait, let me redo this. 3, 2, 1, action. Brian Holiday. Speaking of things batters won't be taking when they're in the box against him. Okay. Anyway, he had 128 strikeouts in 113 innings with 19 walks. Me likes that. He should have been drafted by the Pirates, based on what we've been hearing. And then we did get into the Chen-Win Lee talk. He was a really interesting guy in dynasty leagues because he previously wasn't rostered in most of them. He's since been picked up, and a couple people like him in every dynasty league. So at the very least, there's value for trading with him. And if the year starts off well, I think the hype is going to pick up on him because of, as we mentioned, that body is there for him. And then this is a fourth outfielder guy that I've got potentially pegged for the Cardinals. And this is used to be the classic Cardinal of who the hell is this guy and why is he batting 270? Matt Koperniak, but he'll say that with an English accent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Last year, and I mean, we're just on fire. Last year, he had 20 home runs, hit 309 with a 370 OBP in AAA. And then he went to the Dominican Winter League and probably drank a lot. I'm guessing he didn't do well, but he's 26 years old to play this year, turning 27 soon. One of the guys I just looked at, and unfortunately I deleted their thing. It was his 25th birthday today. Forget who that was, but so I won't even say happy birthday to him. But anyway, that's another guy for the Cardinals, and they've got guys. They always have guys. It's just the ceiling type guys. We've kind of narrowed it down to these three: Weatherholt, Matthews, Hentz, and then, you know, lots of other depth. But my goodness, for three organizations we weren't pumped to talk about, Ben. We put 101 minutes onto that. So,
yeah. So, folks, you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah. And thank you to the 400 plus that have found us on various places. I'm told that if you put this on Pornhub, it'll also make money. I don't know if we have to do anything different than what we do now, but I did hear that about a non-sexual person who moved to Pornhub and makes more money there because of how their advertising works. If Govier finds out, we're all in trouble. Anyway, Ben, we've done 9, right? We've got 3 left. San Francisco, San Diego, who I mistakenly thought we were initially doing tonight, and Washington.
So
that'll be good.
Here's the fun part for me is Americanized, or I mean really Englishized abbreviations, and when people go to put them into an alphabetical order, everyone puts ST and considers that to be what the word is, and ST is an abbreviation for Saint.
Yes.
And so,
as my son learned today on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. And so when I alphabetize by name of town, I go by St. Louis, not St. Louis, so which puts St.
Oh, that's why I see what you're saying.
So I throw people off with that all the time, but that's okay. That's one of those, fun grammar nerd type of things. And,
it's all forgiven, Ben. Let's do ourselves and our listeners a favor, and we'll end this one tight tonight because I know we struggle with it. But anyway, if you haven't yet, please follow us subscribe on YouTube, follow us wherever you listen to your podcast, join our Discord. It is free. And I don't know if we reached any of our goals that Govier was talking about. I think he went and ordered another sub. I'm not sure. Oh, I missed that. Where did you go, girl? Just kidding. We don't care. A lot of people hate you because of things other people did. So thanks for coming tonight. Hit us up next week. We have 3, not just us, but the channel has 3 minimum live streams a week right now. And we're not even in season. So there's lots of content for you. If you like to sit down and check us out on YouTube while you're doing something else, put us on in the background. We greatly appreciate it. On my behalf of myself, Ben, MJ, Govier, thanks so much. 2 L's, 2 Z's. Out.